My mom wanted to take my 1-year-old baby away. I revealed my sister's secret marriage, and she rescued me that same night, while my parents threw all my belongings in the trash. I'm 20 years old. I work in retail. And basically, I'm raising my 1-year-old daughter at my sister's house in San Diego after escaping what I can honestly say was a completely toxic situation with my parents. I guess I should start from the beginning. So all of this makes sense, because when people ask me why I don't talk to my parents, they don't know half the story. And the truth is, I don't even know where to start explaining it to them. When I was 19, I got pregnant. And I know what you're thinking. But things happen. You know? Ava's dad isn't in the picture. And honestly, I prefer not to get into details about that because it's complicated and painful, and basically, he disappeared when I told him I was pregnant. Anyway, I was working at a clothing store at that time, making like minimum wage more or less, and obviously I had no way to pay for an apartment by myself and raise a baby. My parents, Diane and Kenneth, told me I could move back in with them after Ava was born, and at the moment, it seemed like the only option I had. Looking back, I should have looked for another alternative. Anything else? But I was 19. I was scared, and I thought my parents were going to support me. The first few months after Ava was born were relatively normal, or at least that's what I thought. My parents helped me with her when I worked, and although my mom has always been a bit controlling, my whole life, basically, things weren't that bad. But when Ava turned 1, something changed completely. I don't know if it was that my mom realized I wasn't moving out anytime soon, or if it was something else, but suddenly she started criticizing absolutely everything I did. First, it was my weight. I had gained like 30 pounds during pregnancy, and I hadn't lost them all yet, but I was working on it. Like I went to the gym when I could and tried to eat better. But my mom started making comments constantly, like, "Abigail, are you really going to eat that?" Or, "No man is going to want you if you keep going like this." And when I say constantly, I mean several times a day. Every day. She weighed the food I put on my plate, literally, with a kitchen scale. If I tried to serve myself more, she would take my plate away and say it was for my own good. Then she started criticizing how I dressed Ava. We lived in a place where it gets really hot, like 95 degrees in summer easily, and I dressed her in light onesies and comfortable clothes because she was a baby and it's hot. You know what I mean? But my mom insisted I had to put her in dresses with lace and bows and all that stuff, even when it was horribly hot. She said Ava had to look like a real girl, as if that meant anything. And if I didn't put on the clothes she wanted, my mom would literally go and change her when I wasn't looking. The thing is, all of this escalated very quickly, and suddenly I realized I basically had no control over my own life or how I was raising my daughter. My mom had joined this neighborhood, ladies' club, like a group of women who got together to drink tea and gossip, I guess. And after that, it was like she had found her life purpose or something. She started obsessing over what the neighbors thought of us, of our family, of how we looked. She forbade me from wearing certain clothes because she said they made me look fat, and when I say forbade, I mean it seriously. She hid half my clothes and said she wouldn't give them back until I lost weight. My dad, Kenneth, never said anything. He's always been like that, like the one who just nods and agrees with everything my mom says, even if it's completely ridiculous. When I tried to talk to him about what was happening, he would tell me things like, "Your mom just wants what's best for you," or, "You should listen to her. She has more experience," as if that justified everything. But what really made me realize the situation was completely out of control was when Ava had to get her 1-year vaccines. I had made the appointment with the pediatrician, all normal, and the night before my mom tells me she can't stay with Ava that day because she has plans with her club. I told her no problem. I was going to take Ava with me to the doctor, and my mom literally went crazy. She started yelling at me that vaccines were dangerous, that they were going to make Ava sick, that they caused autism, which isn't even true, obviously, and that if I was a good mother, I wouldn't vaccinate her. I was in shock, honestly, because she had never mentioned anything about this before. All my siblings and I were vaccinated. You know? It didn't make sense. But that morning, when I went to look for my car keys to go to the doctor, I couldn't find them anywhere. I looked everywhere, and I finally found them hidden in my parents' closet. My mom had hidden them so I couldn't take Ava to get vaccinated. Can you believe it? I had to call a friend to give me a ride, and when I got back, my mom didn't talk to me for 3 days. Things kept Getting worse after that. My parents started criticizing every decision I made with Ava, from what I fed her to when I put her to bed. If I gave her a snack my mom didn't approve of, she would take it away and tell me I was spoiling my daughter. If I let Ava play on the floor, my mom would say it was because I was a lazy mother who didn't want to hold her. Basically, I couldn't do anything right. One day, like 2 months after the vaccine incident, we were all sitting in the living room after dinner, and my mom tells me we need to talk. I knew it wasn't going to be anything good, because she had that face she makes when she's about to drop something horrible. She tells me that she and my dad have been talking, and they think I'm not ready to be a mother, that I'm doing everything wrong, that Ava deserves better, and that they should consider giving her up for adoption to a family that can care for her properly. I sat there unable to speak for like a whole minute, because I couldn't process what I had just heard. Give her up for adoption? My daughter? The girl I had carried for 9 months, that I had given birth to, that I had been caring for basically alone because they just wanted to control me? And my dad was just sitting there, nodding as always, as if this was completely reasonable. I started yelling at them. And when I say yelling, I mean the neighbors probably heard everything. I told them they were crazy, that I was never going to give them Ava, that she was my daughter and they had no right. And my mom tells me, very calmly, that if I wanted to keep living in their house, I had to follow their rules. And their rules included seriously considering adoption because I was an inadequate mother. She said that if I didn't cooperate, they were going to talk to social services and tell them I was negligent, that I couldn't care for my daughter properly, and that they had proof of my irresponsible behavior. I was crying and shaking and feeling like I was going to throw up, and in that moment, I don't know why, but something in me broke and I yelled at them, "You know what? Lauren got married 2 years ago, and didn't even invite you to the wedding because you're horrible people, and she wants nothing to do with you." Okay, I need to explain this. Lauren is my older sister. She's 26, and like 4 years ago she moved to San Diego and basically cut contact with my parents. Well, not completely. Like she talked to them every now and then on the phone, but never came to visit us and always had excuses when they wanted to go see her. I was the only one who knew the truth, that Lauren had married a guy named Matthew who has a super nice restaurant in San Diego, and that she hadn't invited my parents because she didn't want them to ruin her special day with their drama and criticism. When I blurted that out, my parents were completely frozen. My mom went pale, like literally lost all the color from her face, and my dad started saying, "What? What did you say?" over and over again. I knew I had just betrayed Lauren's trust, but in that moment I didn't care. I was so desperate to divert attention from me and Ava that I didn't think about the consequences. What happened next was total chaos. My mom started yelling at me that I was a liar, that Lauren would never do that, and then she grabbed her phone and started calling Lauren over and over. The first time Lauren didn't answer, or the second, but the third time she did answer, and I could hear when my mom yelled at her, "Is it true you got married without telling us anything?" I didn't hear what Lauren said, but I saw how my mom's face fell apart more and more, and eventually she hung up and looked at me with so much hatred that it honestly scared me. She told me to get out of her house immediately, to pack my things and Ava's things and leave. I didn't know what to do. Honestly, I had no money for a motel or anything, and it was like 9 at night. I went up to my room and started packing some things, crying the whole time, and my phone rang. It was Lauren. She told me she had just talked to Mom, that she knew what had happened, and that she was coming to get me. I told her she lived like 5 hours away, that she couldn't drive here at that hour, but she said she was already on her way, that she had left as soon as Mom hung up on her the first time because she knew something bad was happening. Lauren arrived at like 3 in the morning. My parents were already asleep, or so it seemed, and I was sitting at the entrance of the house with 2 suitcases and Ava asleep in her carrier. When I saw Lauren's car, a white Honda Accord, I remember perfectly. I started crying again. She got out, hugged me without saying anything, and helped me put everything in the car. We went to a motel that night, one of those cheap ones that are on the highway, and when we finally sat down in the room, with Ava still asleep, Lauren told me she was sorry. That she was sorry for not being there for me. That she was sorry for cutting contact with the family without explaining to me, well, why. She told me she had gone through something similar when she was my age, that Mom and Dad had always been controlling and toxic, and that's why she had left for San Diego. She told me she had gotten married without inviting them because she knew they were going to ruin everything, that they were going to criticize Matthew, that they were going to make comments about her dress or about the food or about anything, and that she just wanted a happy day without their negativity. And then she told me something that completely surprised me. She told me, I'm pregnant. I'm 3 months along. And my parents don't know. And they're not going to know. Because I don't want them near my child. And you and Ava are going to come live with me and Matthew, and we're going to create our own family. A real family where we support and love each other without conditions. I stayed, crying in her arms, for like half an hour, I guess. It was a mix of relief and gratitude, and also pain. Because even though my parents were horrible, they were still my parents, you know? And it hurt to realize they were never going to change, that they were never going to be the people I needed them to be. The next day, Lauren told me we had to go to the house to pick up the rest of my things, and Ava's. She wanted to confront my parents too, tell them to their faces what she thought of them. When we arrived, my mom opened the door and didn't even look at me, just looked at Lauren and told her, "So you finally decided to visit us." The sarcasm in her voice was brutal. Lauren didn't let herself be intimidated. She told her she knew what they had been doing to me, that she knew they had threatened to take Ava from me, and that was pure and simple abuse. My mom tried to interrupt her, but Lauren raised her hand and said, "No. You're going to shut up and listen to me." She told her that the reason she never visited them was because they were toxic people who only knew how to control and criticize, that she had built a beautiful life in San Diego without their negative influence, and that now I was going to do the same. My dad appeared at that moment and tried to defend my mom, saying they only wanted what was best for me, that I was too young to raise a baby alone. And Lauren laughed, like a laugh without humor, and said, "I was 20 years old when I left this house, the same age Abigail is now, and you told me exactly the same things, that I couldn't take care of myself, that I was going to fail, that I needed to stay here where you could control my life, and look how well I did without you." We went up to my room to get the things, and when we came down with the last boxes, my mom said something that still hurts when I think about it. She said, "If you leave now, don't ever come back. You won't be welcome in this house, and neither will your daughter." And Lauren simply said, "Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to hear." We left for San Diego that same day. The trip was long, like 5 hours and something, and Ava was restless most of the time, but we finally arrived at Lauren and Matthew's house. It was a beautiful house. Not super big, but very cozy, with a yard and everything. Matthew was waiting for us, and when I met him, I liked him immediately. It was obvious he loved Lauren and that he was genuinely happy to have us there. We stayed in the guest room, which Lauren had prepared for us with a crib for Ava and everything. That first night, after putting Ava to bed, I sat with Lauren and Matthew in the living room, and we just talked. I told them everything that had happened in the last few months, and they just listened and told me I was safe now, that no one was going to take my daughter away. About a week later, Lauren told me we had to go back to my parents' house one last time to pick up some things that had been left behind. When we arrived, the door was locked and no one answered. A neighbor saw us and told us they had seen my parents taking out a bunch of boxes to the trash the day before. We went to check the complex's trash area where they lived, and there it all was. My parents had thrown away all my things and all of Ava's things, literally everything, from clothes to photos to toys. Some things had been ruined with the garbage, and what was in good condition we didn't want anymore because it smelled horrible. Lauren took pictures of everything and told me that if we ever needed proof of what my parents had done, we had evidence. But honestly, I just wanted to get out of there and never come back. After that, things started to improve slowly. Matthew offered me a job as a waitress at his restaurant, which is a super upscale place where people pay like $50 per plate, like very fancy. I had never worked at a restaurant like that, but he said he was going to train me and that he knew I could do it. And he was right. Turns out I'm good at it. The tips are amazing. Like I make more in one night there than in a whole week at the clothing store where I worked before. Lauren helped me find a daycare near her house for Ava, because she herself was going to need one for her baby in a few months and had researched all the options. The daycare was a bit expensive, but between what I earned at the restaurant and the fact that Lauren didn't charge me rent, he just helped her with some things around the house, I could afford it. My parents tried to contact me like a month after we left. First, it was my mom, sending me text messages saying she wanted to see Ava, that she missed her, that we could forget what had happened and start over. I ignored the messages. Then it was my dad, calling me and leaving voicemails saying they were worried about me, that they wanted to know how we were. I ignored that too. Eventually, Lauren sent them a very clear message, telling them that if they tried to contact us again, or if they showed up in San Diego without invitation, she was going to get a restraining order. We haven't heard from them since. And honestly, I hope it stays that way. About 4 months into being in San Diego, Lauren told me she had found a small apartment that was available near her house. It was basically a studio, nothing fancy, but it was clean and in a good neighborhood. She told me she thought I was ready to have my own space, and that she and Matthew were going to help me with the deposit if I needed it. I cried when she told me, because it meant she trusted me, that she believed I could do it alone. I moved into the apartment like 3 months ago, right when Lauren was entering her 3rd trimester of pregnancy. It's weird having my own place. Like I had never really lived alone. It was always with my parents or with roommates in college before I got pregnant. But it's good too. You know? It's mine. I can decorate it how I want. I can eat what I want. I can raise Ava how I decide, without anyone criticizing me. I see Lauren almost every day still. She lives literally 2 blocks away, and when I'm not working, I spend time with her. Sometimes we cook together, or we just sit and watch movies while Ava plays. She's going to give birth in like 2 months, and I'm super excited to meet my nephew or niece. They don't want to know the sex. They want it to be a surprise. Matthew is amazing too. He treats me like I'm his real sister, and he adores Ava. She calls him Maddie and gets excited every time she sees him. He buys her gifts all the time, like little things like toys or books, and says he's practicing for when his own baby arrives. My life now is completely different from what it was 6 months ago. I have my own apartment, a job I like, and where I earn, well, my daughter is happy and healthy, and I have my sister nearby. I don't talk to my parents, and I probably never will talk to them again. Sometimes I feel guilty about that. Like I wonder if I should give them another chance. But then I remember everything that happened and I realize I can't risk exposing Ava to their toxicity. Last week, Ava took her first steps alone, without holding on to anything, and the first thing I did was call Lauren to tell her. She came running, literally. Ran the 2 blocks despite being super pregnant, to see her do it again. We sat on the floor of my apartment, both of us crying and laughing while Ava walked between us, super proud of herself. And in that moment I thought, this is what a real family is. It's not about blood or obligation. It's about people who support you and love you without conditions, who celebrate your achievements and help you when things get difficult. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe someday my parents will change, although I doubt it. Maybe someday I can forgive them for what they did. But that doesn't mean I have to have them in my life. For now, I'm focused on building something good for me and for Ava, and being there for Lauren when her baby arrives. And that's enough, I think.